for various vehicles using updated products stored and or storage temperatures. Update emission limits for all tanks to reflect the latest provisions to the calculation methodologies for tanks found in Chapter 7 of AP 42. Update 40 CFR 63 subpart EEEE B-ship.
That's true. I did.
Thank you. Distribution non-gasoline requirements to reflect changes due to residual risk and technology review. Also, emission limits are being updated to reflect the new control requirements and the regulation. And applicable refinery MAC requirements 40 CFR 63 subpart CC to the St. Rose terminal and as a consequence of the acquisition of the former Shell or St. Rose refinery. Reauthorize construction approval for the following tanks that were authorized prior to permitting actions but have not been constructed. Number 113-101 EQT 0136. Tank 114-201 EQT 0137. Tank 301 EQT 0138. Tank number 322707 EQT 0346. Tank number 324907 EQT 0348. Tank number 3261107 EQT 0350. Tank number 3271207 EQT 0351. Tank number 3281307 EQT 0352. Tank number 329.
I think both why you get to read all of that.
That's what's required, man.
We can't see.
Why?
Sure, just what?
I'll get to that later. Tank 3291407 EQT 0353. Tank number 3311507 EQT 03T354. Tank number 3331607 EQT 0355 to see. Tank number 3351707 EQT 0356. Tank number 33718 EQT 0357. Tank number 3391907 EQT 0358. Tank number 605510 EQT 0397. Tank number 606610 EQT 0398. Tank number 607710 EQT 0399. Tank number 608 EQT 0400. Tank number 609910 EQT 0401. Tank number 125 B125 1610 EQT 0409. Tank number 126 B126 1901 EQT 0412. Tank number 2127 D12715 EQT0408, tank number 128B12B 2010A, EQT0413, tank number B7 211 EQT 0423, tank number N260306 EQT 0302, and tank number N29111 EQT 0421. Add heating coils and or store heated vegetable oil for all tanks that store vegetable oil. Fermented emission limits will not increase as a result of this change, but will be included in the PSD applicability analysis. Incorporate the following emission points from regulatory permits approved since the last permit modification. HOF backup malt diesel engine tank 501120 EQT 0469, regulatory permit number RP 4885 PE car 2020003, issued July 14, 2020. 2021 server Rebecca generator 121 EQT 0474, regulatory permit number RP 4885 PER 20210002, issued August 26, 2021, and temporary boiler 323 EQT 0473, regulatory permit number RP 4885 PER 20230002, issued April 26, 2023. Update fugitive emissions limits and the insignificant activities list to incorporate increases due to approved case-by-case insignificant activities approved since the last permit modification. Add 2 emergency generator emissions, 221 and 321 EQT 0475 and EQT 0476. And the following emission sources as part of the new ammonia storage system avoids ammonia tanks, scrubbers of 1, 2, 3 EQT 77, ammonia tank A1, 1, 2, 3, 8 EQT 0478, ammonia tank A2, 1, 2, 3B EQT 0479, ammonia tank A3, 1, 2, 3C EQT 0480, ammonia tank A4, 1, 2, 3D EQT 0481, ammonia ship commissioning 1, 2, 3E EQT 0482, aqueous ammonia tank 1, 2, 3F EQT 0483, aqueous ammonia truck loading 1, 2, 3G EQT 0484, ammonia emergency flare number 1, 423A EQT 0485, ammonia emergency flare number 2, 423B EQT 486, ammonia storage area emergency diesel drainage pump number 523 EQT 0487, Ammonia storage area emergency vehicle drainage fault number 2, 623 EQT 0488. Ammonia storage area emergency vehicle drainage fault number 3, 723 EQT 0489. Ammonia storage area emergency diesel drainage fault number 4, 823 EQT 0490. Ammonia storage area emergency diesel drainage fault number 5, 923 EQT 0491. And ammonia fugitive emissions 223 FUG 0003. Adding fixed routes that area pertains 0701 702 SNC 0020 and SCN 0021 respectively. The tanks will operate with fixed crews while storing natural oils, vegetable oils, animal fats, renewable diesel, and renewable diesel feedstocks. And maximum achievable control technology NACT LAC 33510.B. Requirements for emission sources, limit Tibetri's West Point, Class 2 TAP, or facility-wide emissions are above the minimum emission rate, HIT-ER, and are not subject to NESHAP. Remove heater 1A 14414 EQT 0434, heater EA 14614 EQT 0435, since these heaters were never constructed. Add an alternative operating scenario for emissions associated with roof landings and internal floated roof tanks that store diesel SCN 0022. These roof landings are occasionally required to accommodate customers' business demands and an alternate operating scenario that allows tanks 103 through 112 EQT 0124 through EQT 0133 at tank 116 through 119 EQT 0134 EQT 0135 EQT 0139 EQT 0140 to operate with fixed crews SCN 0023. Emissions are permitted under an existing emissions cap GRP 0015. This permit is processed as an expedited permit in accordance with LAC 33-1, Chapter 18. This hearing is not being conducted in a question and answer format. I repeat, hearing is not being conducted in a question and answer format. Please remember that the purpose of the hearing is for the receive your comments concerning the proposed permit. Also, please be aware that here to also and staff for proposed participation group are not decision makers on these proposed permits. My role as hearing officer is to conduct this public hearing, accept comments regarding the proposed permit for the LDEQ. This hearing is to provide all individuals a chance to concur, regardless of their position on the proposed permit. Courteous behavior is expected of everyone at all times. You may speak in support of the proposed project, in opposition to the proposed project, or simply provide additional information. All interested parties will be given a reasonable opportunity to comment unless the testimony is not related to the proposed the purpose of this hearing. All comments heard and transcribed during this hearing and all written comments received during the comment period will be evaluated and addressed in LDEQ's written response of comments. A public notice advertising this public hearing and requested public comment on the proposed permit is published on the LDEQ public notice webpage on Friday, September 19, 2025. Copies of the proposed permit are available for the inspection and review of LDEQ Post-Break Center, 602 North 5th Street, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Viewing hours are 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, except holidays. An additional copy is also available for viewing at the St. Charles
It's in the trap in
Parish Library,
also will
St. Rose Branch,
for review.
90 Weeks Club Drive, St. Rose, Louisiana 70087. A brief notice was published on LDEQ's website on Wednesday, August 6, 2025. The available information can be accessed electronically on the electronic database. It says at TTIS, on the LDEQ public website at www.veq.louisiana.gov. In addition, on Friday, September 19, 2025, copies of the public notice were mailed and emailed to the two individuals who had requested a place on the hard copy and email mailing list maintained by the LDEQ Office of Environmental Services. In accordance with Louisiana Administrative Code LAC, Title 33, Part 3, Section 531A3C, comments received by 4:30 p.m. Thursday, October 3rd, 2025, will be considered commonly received comments. All comments heard transcribed during this hearing, and all time you received comments shall be retained by the LDEQ and considered prior to reaching a cardinal decision. Written comments may be submitted online on the public notice webpage, www.peq.louisiana.gov/public-notices. Mailed to LDEQ Public Participation Group, P.O. Box 4313, Baton Rouge, Louisiana 7021, were submitted via personal delivery or email deq.public-notices@la.gov. Pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statutes 3:20.2382, notice of final decision must be given to commenters by ordinary mail. Therefore, commenters wishing to receive notice of the final decision must include a complete mailing address when submitting comments. Notice of final decision will be mailed to those who made timely comments and provided a complete mailing address. Those who request to be notified of the final decision and the applicant. Louisiana Revised Statute 30/2017 requires that these EQ proceed in the following speaking order. Speaking orders are determined based on the information provided on your speaker registration form and is based on the parish of residence, parish of employment, or at the discretion of the public hearing officer, whether the speaker is a public official. If you did not provide your residence or work information on the speaker registration form, you will still be able to speak. However, you will speak last. Or the department shall not provide up to 30 minutes to the applicant for an introductory presentation. Afterwards, preference for speaking for up to 1 hour is given as follows. First, up to 1 hour to those citizens who live within a 2-mile radius of the location of the proposed project. Second, up to 1 hour to those citizens who work within a 2-mile radius of the location of the proposed project. Third, up to 1 hour to citizens who live within the parish location of the proposed project. Thereafter, each hour, the hearing shall alternate between those who are in support of the proposed permit and others who oppose. Pursuant to Louisiana revised statutes 30, the Code 2017B3, the hearing officer may give a preference to a public official to speak at any time during the hearing. However, any time Leonard citizen testimony shall also apply to public officials. An initial time limit of 3 minutes will be provided to each speaker. However, if you need additional time, you may speak again once everybody has had the opportunity to speak and provide comments. This hearing will remain open for a deal of 1 hour to allow any Ryant appeals the opportunity to speak. This hearing is being transcribed, therefore I will ask each speaker to begin by stating for the record their name, address, and any organization he or she may represent. I would like to remind you, please silence your cell phones. Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask the faculty to come forward and please hit the introduction.
Cowboy Josh.
There you go. Thank you and good evening. My name is Carlin, and I am the chairman and CEO of IMTT. I came to lead IMTT almost 5 years ago, and from day one, we have been laser focused on how we adapt to the face of climate change, be good stewards of the environment, and live up to our responsibility in the community, all while sustaining a business strategy that will help drive the economic success of Southeast Louisiana. Most importantly, we committed to working with and listening to our neighboring community to ensure they have information about our operations and that we are here and we understand any concern that they may have. We regularly meet with community members from St. Rose, both through our community advisory panel, also known as CAP, and in smaller, more informal groups, and we remain open and accessible to our neighbors. Please use the QR code posters here today if you'd like to join in. I'd like to touch upon the improvements we have made in St. Rose and across our footprint as part of our greener and cleaner strategy. This is extremely relevant because the renewal of this air permit will allow us to continue on this new path for the benefit of everyone, both in air quality and quality of life. Starting in 2021, we immediately began the transition to greener and cleaner methods and operations. We have grown our storage of edible oils, including vegetable oils, animal fats, and other agricultural products that are ultimately used in everything from food manufacturing to the production of renewable products. We connected our terminals directly to customer facilities via pipeline infrastructure, eliminating need for fuel-burning trucks and heavy equipment and significantly reducing associated emissions. Last year alone, we avoided more than 1 million truck miles and saved more than 155,000 gallons of diesel fuel. We also voluntarily invested over $3 million to add carbon beds that capture pollutants, and on 50 tanks, we installed pressure vacuum and relief valves. These valves control the pressure on these tanks to avoid emissions, all which continue to reduce our environmental impact. We launched pilot programs to partner with specialized recyclers to reduce the metals and waste which normally would go into local landfills. In 2024, we converted almost 4,000 tons of materials into usable products rather than just throwing them away. We have a proven track record of holding ourselves to an even higher standard than our air permit has required. For example, a third-party assessment of 4 years of benzene fence line monitor data shows we are at least 7 times lower than the LDEQ ambient air standard, and in some cases up to 21 times lower. We track our water use across all terminals so that we can improve how we manage stormwater and better protect water quality around St. Rose and elsewhere. And lastly, we have partnered with LEAN, the Louisiana Environmental Action Network, to help them install the only community-based stationary air monitoring network between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. While St. Rose wasn't identified as a trouble spot in LEAN's project research, IMTT decided to approach LEAN and requested adding St. Rose to their monitoring CAF work. With IMTT's financial support and voluntary opt-in, the community now has 4 monitors in place, in addition to the 25 benzene fence line monitors. Unfortunately, one of LEAN's monitors was vandalized within 24 hours of installation, but will be replaced soon. The incident happened at 4 o'clock in the morning. This disappointing vandalism will not deter us from our objective of being a responsible community member. LEAN leads the management of these monitors and will control the data independently, and will share the collected data with the public so everyone will have a better sense of what impacts air quality in St. Rose. This air permit renewal is a standard process that comes up every 5 years. With this renewed permit, we will reduce our permitted VOC emissions by 10%. Additionally, since 2021, we have reduced our actual VOC emissions by 26% as we have grown. We won't stop looking for new ways to improve for the sake of our shared communities, our employees, and the future economy. This air permit gives us that flexibility. It lets us maintain normal operations while positioning us to attract new customers in this constantly changing market. 26 of the 30 unbuilt tanks listed in this application were approved within our previous air permits, going back as far as 15 years. We have added 4 new tanks that would be utilized to support St. Charles Clean Fuels Ammonia project, if that project ever comes to fruition. If we decide to build any new tanks, we will adhere to any and all licenses, permits, and zoning requirements, and there will be further opportunities for public comment. I can promise that any changes to our terminal will support and further our efforts to be good stewards of the environment, good community partners, and lead by example. As we proceed here today, we look forward to hearing from the people who live and work in St. Rose. These public hearings are a meaningful and essential part of the regulatory process, and we welcome the input from the public and the diligence of the LDEQ in evaluating our air permit application. I would ask each of you to be open to the facts and science that drive our regulatory compliance standards. Standards which are rooted in health effects modeling. LDEQ intentionally establishes air quality standards well above the levels at which human health is impacted, which in turn is used to develop safe emission limits for industry. IMTT's emissions are more than 8 times lower than what is allowed by our air permit. There's a lot of misinformation out there. The bottom line is IMTT takes its responsibility to keep our employees and the community safe very seriously, and we won't stop in these efforts. We do appreciate that not everyone wants to hear what we have to say, but I want to repeat, we offer that we will always make time to discuss our shared St. Rose community and any concern that you may have. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
You have any? Or that is it, the record submitted by Mr. Carlin. Okay, I'd like to call on any public officials who wishes to speak this time. You next we'll go to the
Who don't trust us?
first to speak will be those citizens who live within a 2-mile radius of location of the proposed project. I'll apply. You have 3 minutes to speak. If you're not free, it will come back to everybody else spoken. When you get down to a minute, I'm gonna pull my face out. When your time is over, only get here. No. Okay.
I see you.
I haven't called you name yet. That's okay. That's all That's okay. Or you just a dance. Okay, Tom Nancy, please.
Hi.
Sir, you need to speak up this one,
Why is that?
because that's the rules.
Okay, well, I'm gonna address the residents of St. Charles Parish. Both people are not here or not from St. Charles Parish, but I'm gonna talk to the residents. I'm gonna remind you, I've lived in St. Charles Parish since 1995, so I'm not a new resident. I wanna remind everybody of the chemical release, which was of ammonia in the late 90s, early 2000s. It sent me to the hospital where I had to have a painful eyelid scrub. Do we want to risk another release like this?
Ryant Price.
All right.
Good evening.
You're not talking.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Christ. I'm a resident of St. Rose. I live at 101 Route Sydney Drive in St. Rose. And my comments are as follows. IMTT tried establishing tank farm in Louisiana 2024. An article from Noted.com headline reads, IMTT withdraws plans from the Louisiana tank farm after neighbors' concerns. So the neighbors in Louis didn't want this tank farm, so now they want to bring this tank farm back to St. Rose. But the residents of St. Rose also don't want this tank farm because we know that this tank farm is directly ammonia production, which we are adamantly against. IMTT has proven not to be a responsible neighbor. Air quality monitors were removed without community knowledge, and only now because IMTT wants blue ammonia did the monitors return, and not the specific monitor that was suggested by industry experts. IMTT proceeded to move forward with the blue ammonia plant without notifying the residents beyond Crescent Hollow. It took a community effort to get the residents within a 2-mile radius of that IMTT plant. It took a community effort to make those residents knowledgeable of what was coming in their backyards. Thus, we had the participation that we had now. IMTT should honor the wishes of St. Rose governors just as it did with the loading residents. LDEQ should act on its responsibility to protect the swamps and natural habitats in Louisiana in according with its key functions. Their second key function is protecting Louisiana's natural resources, including air, land, and water. Everything that IMTT plans on doing now is going to disrupt swampland that acts as drainage for us. St. Charles Parish is the language.
You get going.
Oh, okay. Say St. Charles Parish is the lake and putting forward the needed drainage and sewage water treatment. You talked about PSBs. We know that PSB, I know that PSB because I'm an former industry worker. PSBs don't stop emissions. PSBs, pressure safety valves, control the ignition only when they are lined up to a closed system. Right now, IMTT doesn't have any PSBs that are going to a closed system. So if a PSB pops off, all it does is go to the atmosphere. Thank you.
Tyrone Taylor.
Move Tyrone.
She got took 60 to this aisle. You know what I mean? Them the boots took 6 feet.
And after that, Tim Mctine.
Good evening. Tyrone Taylor, a lifelong resident of Elkinsville, St. Rose. 431 First Street,
Yeah, hear you.
341 First Street. As the old adage goes, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. This blue ammonia plant will kill us in one of 3 or more different ways. By leaks, explosions, exposure. Way number 1, a catastrophic leak of an anhydrous ammonia, a gas. A gas, when it escapes, it becomes a vapor cloud. It causes fatal buildup of fluid in the lungs. And you would think that it would hurt older people the worst. The victims that are hurt the worst are children, because the gas could be blown by the wind close to the ground. It's heavier than air. We always say in St. Rose that if something happened, that we don't be in a pickle, because there's only one way in and one way out of St. Rose. That's if we were lucky enough for it to happen during the daytime, so that we could get in our cars and get out of here. We're lucky if it happens in the daytime. If it happens at night, in the middle of the night while we're in our beds, that's going to kill us in our bed. We won't have time to get to our cars. This catastrophic vapor cloud flows with the wind, the wind direction, or with the wind speed. Has to do with where it flows. If it flows east, hit Elkinsville, then Preston Howard, Riverwood Drive, St. Rose Avenue, Bands Place, Ornon Ranch, and on to Kyereh. For 7 miles, this cloud can travel along the ground. If it blows to the west, that's Oak Lawn Drive, all on the States, New Sarpy, La Place, on down the airline highway. Of course, if it blows south, that's Luling, Mimosa, so on. 3 minutes, thank you. Then come back to you.
You can stay in 3 minutes. Mom, he can come back and finish. Hey, of course, somebody will get up. Oh, I heard that, y'all. I just something to me. Listen, I'm harassing my proposed scores.
Good evening. My name is Tim Mctine. I live in St. Rose in the Barton Estates Division. I appreciate the opportunity to comment on the proposed facility here in St. Rose. Across the country, we hear a lot about clean or low carbon ammonia facilities. But the reality is, currently, there are no large-scale blue ammonia plants successfully operating anywhere in the U.S. Sure. The only real operational examples are small, like Toulouse AG's green ammonia site, Boone, Iowa, which currently produces just 1 to 20 tons per day using renewable power. By contrast, the proposal here for the facility in St. Rose would produce 8,000 tons per day, more than 400 times larger than anything that's currently proven. That gap raises serious questions in the scalability and how safe this is. Recently, global leaders BASF and Yara, two of the biggest ammonia producers in the world, shut down their own U.S. blue ammonia project because it wasn't viable. What makes this version in St. Rose any more achievable or safer for our community? This project would bring years of heavy construction, new CO2 pipelines, added truck traffic, and potential emission impacts in an already industrialized corridor. Before any permits are granted, I asked the DEQ, the developers, IMTT, to provide the following to the residents of St. Charles Parish: a transparent construction and operations timeline, independent public air quality and fence line monitoring, a verified carbon capture and storage plan, and a coordinated emergency response measure with local agencies that could be distributed to the local communities. We're not against innovation in St. Rose or St. Charles Parish. We're for responsible progress that's proven, safe, and accountable. Until blue ammonia technology is demonstrated at scale elsewhere in the United States, St. Charles Parish should not be treated as a testing ground. Thank you for your time, for entering my...
She ended it's she Tony Green.
What about chickens? Oh. We got chickens. How about 12 chickens? Eggs. That's it.
Master Mr. Green, Bruce, there you're in.
Well, I do very up to there. Yes, I don't have much to say. Don't need to complete the product. I don't know a whole bunch. Saying about chemicals. I just want to say, we don't want y'all chemicals. We don't want y'all plant. We want to live. We want to be in good health. Y'all take y'all plants.
Well said, well said, well said.
Tell us it. But yeah.
He's trying to say that by the day. It's not your still just decide him for the pyramid.
But too, she ain't going to give her boss. A few minutes comes. I left you that and those that is that does really.
And that is Ray J. Smith.
Yes, my name is Rosemary Green. I live at 243 4th Street, San Rose. I'm a San Rose advocate. And I've been in prayer about how I'm going to say this, because we've got some people here that I'm also CAP member, IMTT CAP member. And I found out some things that were pretty interesting, because I joined the CAP meeting lately to get a better perspective without having to, I didn't want to be judgmental. I just want needed to know the truth about what's going on with IMTT. And I hope that you guys pay attention to what's really going on here. It's not a game. I have my own testimony, and I've said it several times already, and I'll say it as many times as need be. I've personally experienced being attacked by these chemicals, that it came flooding into my home. And for the first time in my life, I had my phone in my hand. I was so confused. I couldn't breathe. I was struggling to breathe. I was throwing up. I mean, it was a nightmare to me. And until you have that experience, you can't fathom what I went through, because I felt like I was about to die. And then I finally called 911 and they told me to stay in my house. My house was a death trap to me. That wasn't the first time that I've had that. That was the worst of it. And to date, just before we came here, the air is very thick with it. I took a tour of IMTT. I requested a tour. What I found was very disturbing to me. There were only 8 people there to man that whole facility. 200 and some tanks. Only 8 people there. When I inquired about where was all the workers, because I didn't see any. There weren't any in sight. And then finally I was told that they'd go home at 5 o'clock in the evening. So who's there at night, I asked. And the man told me it was 8 people, that they have 8 people to man that entire plant. We're talking about the tanks. You've got all these, you want to bring in 26 more tanks to 200 you already have. And no telling how many of them that's underground that y'all not telling us about. You've got tanks under the IMTT in the ground. And you're not telling anybody anything. Oh, right? You son of a. All right, thank you.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I would like to thank, first off, Ms. Kimbrelle for
Well, you need, Mr. Smitty, you need name and your address for the record.
90 Riverview Drive, Road, J. Smith. All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like Mr. Kimbrelle and all the hard work and the people of St. Rose. I have worked on refrigeration with ammonia, and it can be detrimental to people and health issues. That's why companies now use Freon instead of ammonia. Some Freon can be dangerous, but also not as bad as smoke. IMTT wants to put new tanks of ammonia and other caustic and to cause the material vendor. They already have 216 of these tanks. They can't even, they are not able to maintain, and records show in 2024, IMTT 24 ton, think about it, 24 ton of cancer causing VOC. 24 ton. How much would that be if you put it in a truck? Okay? I'm gonna say over 100,000 pounds of air pollution. It was slapped on the hand. That showed more than 45,000 residents over 4 people breathe in these toxins every day. That's why IMT wants this, because we can't incorporate oil. Guys also show toxins that can drift, and I'm sorry to say, so that
Wait a minute, sir. You don't need to turn around and talk to them and talk to you.
Thank you. It can drift as far as 30 miles. From the leak. Don't burp. When they tell you we will give you 2,000 foot of bubble dome, they blow a smoke at you. Look, the roads look. Now it's the environmental wreck, loaded with water and wetland that is on people and wildlife that ingested these pollutants will that carry over to their offspring, causing birth defects and other problems. Hundreds of fishermen will not be able to feed their families because the toxins due to this accident or heritage will be gone. Due to failure of man, valve is IMTT talked about just a minute ago, or how they have thousands of working well. Look at the history. Look at Shell. Look at the rest of it. It's man-made. All right? Don't tell me how safe it will be. Look at y'all built. Meet the EPA man, meet the IMTT man. Put ammonia and other chemicals in a bucket and breathe it, because that's what you're asking us to do. Okay?
Kimbrelle. Here. Who else? Oh, pronounce your name correctly.
Good evening. My name is Kimbrelle Eugene Track, Kyereh, 333 2nd Street in St. Rose, also known as Elkittsville, Freetown. I have been inundated with noxious chemicals coming into my home, my family home, for decades. I can remember as a young girl in my early teen years, I had my stairs window open, and I can remember getting that breeze coming from IT's direction and the chemicals into my bedroom. Many years later, today, I still get these chemical fumes in my bedroom as I sleep. Now I have my family there with me. My mom is now deceased. I have other family members in the home with me, and we are inundated by these chemicals. Not only do I smell these chemicals, but I also have neighbors who have reported getting these chemicals in their homes. We have students of St. Charles Parish who have said that they get these chemicals from IMTT in their bodies and smelling these fumes as they wait at the bus stop. I have some students, some children, young people telling me that they are smelling these fumes from IMTT as they play in the park. So we are asking that LDEQ deny this permit for more tanks. In addition to the 216 harmful toxins, well, the 216 tanks, many of them house chemicals or products that are not safe for our residents. IMTT has reported that they emit toxins. They have reported to emitting toxins that are cancerous, and the residents are breathing these chemicals in. There is a 2,000-foot setback buffer by St. Charles Parish, but IMTT has encroached upon the residents. The closest tanks are about 250 feet away from residents. There's a whole 2,000 feet IMTT has surrounded, the communities are surrounded by IMTT, and the community on both sides, the east and west, are within that whole 2,000-foot buffer along with IMTT. So there is no buffer. We're asking that you deny this permit. We're also asking that you bring back our community monitor, because the sensors, the low-cost sensors that are in place by IMTT, they're not sufficient for the safety and welfare of our residents, because they are sensing total VOCs and not the reported VOCs, specific VOCs like the benzene and formaldehyde and the hexane and the heptane and so many more that they admit to emitting. We ask that you please deny this permit.
I do not have anybody who signed up that works within a 2-mile radius of facility, so I'm going to move next to the group of leaders will be the people who live within the parish.
What do you never have a limit?
Jerry, Angel, or Ozio are equal.
Nothing.
Good evening, Airpage Kirby Angle. I'm a proud resident of St. Rose. I lived in Pilot Oaks up in Oak for almost 15 years now with a wife, 2 children. My son actually comes to full. I'm speaking forward of the proposed renewal and modification of IMTT's air operating permit, which will also preserve their existing approvals for adding additional tanks to the site. As a member of this community, I believe it's important to balance economic growth with environmental responsibility, and that's why I'm here today to express my support. In my role as a professional recruiter, I have recruited on behalf of IMTT for the past 3 years for several jobs in their environmental health and safety and engineering departments for this facility. IMTT leadership makes it a priority to hire the most qualified, most experienced EHS individuals in our area to adhere to the highest of standards set forth by our EPA, LDEQ, OSHA, and U.S. Coast Guard because they are deeply committed to the well-being of their employees and to the surrounding residents and the community. Anecdotally, the employees that I've placed at IMTT St. Rose have told me that IMTT is the cleanest and safest facility that they have worked at in their career compared to other industrial sites. They point to the overall cleanliness of the site, to the clear color-coded labeling of to pipelines for safety purposes, to daily environmental monitoring such as air monitoring and effluent water monitoring to ensure there is no impact on the health of the surrounding communities. As a resident, I know how important it is to make sure that any growth in our community is done with care and thoughtfulness. That's why I'm reassured to hear that IMTT is committed to using the latest technology and best practices to minimize any environmental impacts from this expansion. With the renewal of this permit, IMTT is bound by law to meet more stringent air quality standards. IMTT uses a third-party environmental company that takes the readings of their air quality from 24 permanent air monitoring stations along the facility's perimeter. Over time, that data I had gathered has consistently shown that they are always in compliance with LDEQ standards, measuring for benzene content. IMTT is one of the first industrial sites to install air monitors in the surrounding community, like what was said earlier, to ensure there is nothing harmful in our air. And these devices were put in place to further ensure compliance and give us reassurance that our air is clean. With the proposed modifications to permit renewal, IMTT is not only continuing to comply with those high standards, but they're also looking to expand in responsible ways. The addition of new tanks is necessary to support their growing business and more importantly, it ensures our local economy can continue to thrive as demand for their services increases. These new tanks will help create new opportunities for local employment and strengthen the infrastructure of our region, benefiting St. Rose in the long term. In conclusion, I believe that approving the renewal and modification of the FAR 70 air operating permit, along with the approval of the new tanks for IMTT's expansion, is a positive step for both the environment and the economy of St. Rose. We have an opportunity to support local growth while ensuring that IMTT remains accountable to the high environmental standards that we all expect. As a St. Rose resident, I wholeheartedly support this firmly.
Time. That's the right time. Yeah.
Mr. Eagle, 3. Gregson,
They're down in the pile, then first testimonies. Come here later, as soon as they come with it.
we're doing the national kiss.
I deixe com e era sapura. Pioca.
Đi xin sen đi sen.
Good evening. My name is Ray Gregson. I live in 314 Lac Cyprier Drive in Louisiana. I serve as the CEO for the River Reef Chamber of Commerce. Tonight I'm here to speak in support of the renewal of IMTT St. Rose Title 5 air operator. IMTT has been a reliable partner to the River Region economy for more than 80 years. The company founded in Louisiana and is still anchored here. IMTT is part of the logistic backbone that keeps our manufacturers supply and our products moving. It's not theoretical. IMTT's decision to expand and retain its corporate headquarters in New Orleans brought new high-wage jobs and investment to our region, underscoring the company's long-term commitment to Southeast Louisiana. That choice matters for local professional careers, for the vendor network, that supports those operations. IMTT showed up for our suit. 2 days ago, IMTT professionals were in the classroom right here at Alejandro Middle School, delivering hands-on STEM learning, connecting coursework to real-world skills and careers. That's how you build talent pipelines. Mentors in front of kids, learning by doing, and industry translating the why behind science and math. IMTT St. Rose site has repeatedly served as an enabler for private investment in jobs. Recent announcements tied into the project cited at St. Rose illustrate how logistics infrastructure can catalyze capital spending and employment. From construction to ongoing operations, right here at all. That platform that strengthens our tax base, supports all the mid-sized business across the parish. Here's the bottom line. Renewing the permit supports a long-standing Louisiana rural employer that contributes to our economy, invests in our people, and partners with our schools. IMTT's 80-plus year presence and its current education and workforce engagement demonstrate a track record of community partnership, not just promises. On behalf of the River Region Chamber, I respectfully urge LDEQ to renew IMTT St. Rose and permit. Let's keep building a region and businesses that operate responsibly. Students seek clear pathways to good careers. Families benefit from stable, high-wage jobs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Randy Dorsy.
Sure. I used to work over there.
Speak louder.
I used to work over there a little while back, way over. When now, so when I was there right there, of course, when it's back. After that,
Talk louder. Repeat what you said.
I was just, scared. My grandkids were outside, and we could see the big fire, a lot of smoke. And afterwards, I said, let's go inside, because it started sticking and going and all that. So I was side on 4th Street. So after that day, I don't know if I come with I don't know if I can begin, but I in the house crazy influence you out the mother in the doctor, but as of hours today, and this right here, start saying that usually about myself. So I just want to say, let's all protect our families and grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kristen Plaisance.
Upon the rear end skyway. In peace. I had a cool crystal to read my soul up rear ends. So pull me up.
Some more they put in them. Those long each acre. St. Rose. In St. Charles Parish, the residents are accustomed to living among industry. IMTT does claim and they aim to be good stewards of the environment. I feel that this project runs counter to that aim for the following reasons. There will be an increased light and noise pollution to our area. There will be increased odor on a daily basis, particularly with the ammonia cakes. In expanding their permit, there will be an increased flood risk to nearby neighborhoods, including mine, by utilizing what is currently wetlands. This project will permanently increase health and safety risk to neighborhoods and schools like this one, regardless of the length of IMTT's
business contracts or any tax incentives that is driving this particular economic development. To residents, our investment in St. Rose is long-term and twofold. First, it's deeply personal. We raise our families here. We ride our bikes on the levee. We play at the bridge parks, and we send our kids to school. We support small businesses, our snowball stands, our restaurants. We live here, and we support this area. Also, the financial impact to residents. Like most people, I believe, my biggest financial investment is in my home. If we choose to move from here, which we could do if we didn't like what was going on, who are we selling them to? What will be the economic impact to our home and property values? I would request a full study on the impact to property values and the cost to continue to insure our properties should this project go forward.
Yeah.
Here's Eugene.
Good evening. Daryus Eugene, 271 Billary Drive in Destrehan. I have been a resident of St. Rose for a long time. I work in St. Rose as well. But I grew up in St. Rose, and like I say, I actually worked there. So I have smelled the chemicals for a long time. Since I was a young boy, I remember my dad and them slamming windows and turning fans off and air conditions because of the chemical smells. So I stand here on their shoulders because they're not here to speak because a lot of our foreparents are gone. So they didn't have a voice. And I appreciate y'all giving us this time, giving us a voice here today. And I just want to say that I've experienced a lot of smells. I grew up in St. Rose, like I said. We played on IMTT property coming up. We played football, track, and all different sorts of little sports and stuff. Then it was taken away from us. And I'm opposed to expanding tanks. I'm opposed to the Ammonia project. And I just want to say I do not want this to go forward.
Hi, my name is Sophia Anderson. I am a resident of New Sarpy. And I just wanted to say that I oppose this IMTT expansion plan because I've seen what happens to communities who are exposed to this type of industry with my own community. I'm from the area of Usarpy that's closest to the Valero plants. And the street that I live on has been home to like 5 generations of my family. And most of the homes in my neighborhood are generational family homes. So, in case you guys don't know what happened in New Sarpy, Valero has been poisoning people for a long time. And most recently, after Hurricane Ida, a lot of homes were destroyed, and Valero bought up the lots for very cheaply. So the neighborhood is gone. People used to live there. People raised generations of families there. Most of them poor, most of them black, or both. And the corporation is basically just waiting for the last of the people to die. And make no mistake, I think that is exactly what will happen to St. Rose, and I don't want it to. There's been a lot of history and a lot of lone stuff that happened in my neighborhood, and it's almost all gone. And they're pretty much just waiting to see when we will give up and when we will just decide we have no say in anything. What will we get first, lung cancer or an equitable offer from Valero? Who knows? But it was ridiculous pricing that they bought people's homes for after Ida. Nobody could relocate because it was like $12,000 a lot, and each home was on 2 lots. So that's not enough to build a new home and start a new life. And yeah, I don't know if in St. Rose they've started buying up people's properties to try to create a buffer zone like Valero did, but they will start and they will wait until you die, until your grandchildren don't know how to deal with your property and they give it up for a loss. Or the next hurricane destroys it and then you have to sell it to them because you have no other choice. So I don't want this to happen in St. Rose or anywhere else in this parish ever yet. Thanks.
Okay. At this time, I will hail those citizens who are proposed to the permit because we don't have any. All right, I guess he's not here.
Wait, she's coming. She's coming. Can you go ahead and she talk out with the next person?
No, you do to the end. All right. Larry.
She's coming.
No, Larry.
She's right there. She's right there.
Boy. You want to last? Yes, you. You were the first. For those who are others suburban, I don't understand the question. It's
Everybody still moving back. I was like, they.
you talking about the feels. Man, I'll tell you, we take a break. I'll fill you in on that. You take the episode of it. All right, Larry Sorapuru.
Sarpy.
Good afternoon. I'm asking LDEQ to deny this bucket.
Nick, your address, record.
Okay, Larry Sorapuru Jr., 502 Highway 18, Edgard, Louisiana, 70049. I am a member of the refined community of St. Rose and also a member of the concerned citizens of St. John Parish. I worked in the industry for 37 years. The last 10 years, I've been in a battle trying to keep people healthy and get chemical plants to keep their chemicals in the fight. I'm asking LDEQ to deny this permit. I'm concerned about LDEQ approving an increased chemical emissions in addition up to the 30 tanks to the 216 tanks already in place. IMTT St. Rose Terminal specializes in storage of highly flammable bulk liquids. My concerns arise from a lack of adequate buffer zones around the property, which places nearby residents in danger. Given the facility's poor regulatory violations and chemical accidents, I fear new permit approvals will pose significant threat to public health. Already, accidents at the facility have resulted in millions in property damage, employee injuries, and deaths. Air pollution is associated with COPD, which is in St. Charles Parish and is consistently higher
than Louisiana state rates. This also has some of the highest cancer rates in St. Charles Parish until the facility can maintain a long history of safer work practices and community privately concerned. These additional allowances will make for dangerous conditions for residents. And I humbly ask you, if the governor of this state and the director of LDEQ are serious about wanting this permit, tell them to walk down the fence line in St. Rose. Thank you.
Hey, you got, okay, you, Mr. Sorapuru is, they said that it's more, pronounced like, hard blue, please. To get you, what you give you name, get the address also, because it's
It has an over. Good afternoon. My name is Art Prue. I reside at 12 Chamonix, Desperate, Louisiana 70047. I grew up in St. Rose, Court Street, which is on the property line of IMTT. We, the community residents of St. Rose, we do not want any additional chemicals releasing to the atmosphere that we have to breathe. We've all experienced, those of us who grew up here, we've had relatives, loved ones who have died, cancer, dementia, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, you name it. And it's all coming from IMTT and the chemicals that they're storing. I'm asking that you all not grant them permit to build 26 more storage tanks in addition to the 216 tanks that they already have. And I'm definitely asking you not to give them a permit to build that ammonia plant. We have to live here. And we have to breathe the air that is polluted by IMTT with the chemicals that they're storing that they cannot control the release of. Thank you. Hey, talk about period, boy. Answer on that period. How do you get there? Look at the man, both study all that, yeah,
Good evening. I'm here. My name is Tanya Driver. Our address, Shog, Jeff Banks and Road, 8, Louisiana. And I'm here to share my story about what could happen when I take his slurs. Speed louder. I'm here to share my story about what can happen when a tank explodes. I feel this is new and fresh to me because this is concerning the Smitty oil explosion that has affected me personally. I know that Smitty oil has been given citation, and from what I've read, IMTT has also had citations. When I was at my cabin just recently, I was met not by the serenity of nature, but by the seeing of something toxic My eyes, my nose, and my throat began to burn almost instantly. My eye had bloodshot. I had spoke to the doctor. I started with pounding headaches, waves of irritability, forgetfulness, and symptoms that I learned were linked to chemical exposure. Neighbors have also shared stories while being in their yards and cutting their grass. Spots appear on their skin and they disappear, leaving behind patches where pigment is gone. The rain no longer washes the ground clean. It reveals oily residues and it refuses to fade. Even my cabin itself is showing signs of distress. The residue is not washing away. We've had lots of rain and the land is still coated. And I'll never forget the day of the explosions. It shook my cabin so hard that I thought something hit it. And now I think I have structural and foundation issues. Oil fell from the sky and drenched my cabin and trees, the animals in the soil beneath them. And that night and the day after, there was no sound of life or sign of life. No birds, no frogs, nothing. And some people keep telling me nature will take care of this. Okay. But these are man-made killer moods. Even Mother Nature has her limit. This land was my dream for retirement, and now it's a place of grief. And a part of me had died, and I can't even go there because of the chemicals that are everywhere, and because of my physical health. And so I'm here because I'm passionate, and I don't want anything to happen here, because I know it can't happen. And there was no one was prepared.
Please waste your time. Hey, come back. You know.
Okay, I'll come back.
Okay. John, Maurice, Gracie. Didn't see as a guest in there, so. Everybody knows my name. Yes.
My name is John Maurice. I live at 604 Oak Street, St. Rose, Louisiana. Been there all my life. And I oppose what y'all got going on right here with IMTT. We do not need another plane there, girl. We don't. We got a school we stay in right now. I know some of these kids come to the school. If you got an ammonia leak, where are kids gonna go? What's behind? Who's gonna come here? You.
Wait a minute.
Who's gonna come in? Who's gonna come ask you? IMTT?
Father?
My grandkids. I said my grandkids will be dead before they get here. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in stopping progress, okay? I am good for doing what y'all need to do. With this ammonia plant, you need to cease. You need to cease it. You need to find something else you can go. It don't need to be here in St. Charles Town on the East Bank. They got schools in every direction. Go to Dutchman. As far as the crow flies, it ain't a mile overhead. As far as the crow flies, it ain't a mile overhead in either direction. Here or Dutchman, where all the schools are. That ain't gonna get. That ain't gonna fly. Who's gonna be responsible for these kids' lives? IMTT? No. You can't replace the rain. I need to find a new place to put this place.
Oh, there, got a dog in the park. That day, go. On the top.
Good evening. My name is Alejandro Rodriguez. My address is 6329 Ferret Street. I am a student attorney from the Environmental Law Clinic at Tulane Law School, representing Ms. Norna Johnson. I am here to urge LDEQ to deny IMTT's Title V permit renewal. I will make 2 points about this permit. First, LDEQ must seriously consider IMTT's history of noncompliance and its ongoing harms to St. Rose under state statute and the public trust duty. And second, if LDEQ does approve the permit, it should at least reinstall an air monitor for N-hexane and ammonia as a mitigation measure against the ongoing harms the community faces. Firstly, LDEQ has a duty to consider a facility's compliance history under state statute and because of its role as a public trustee. Under Louisiana Revised Statute 30/2014, LDEQ shall consider a company's compliance history when reviewing a major source permit. Under the public trust, the agency must avoid environmental harms to the maximum extent possible. For years, residents in St. Rose have raised serious concerns about strong chemical odors, heart palpitations, nausea, headaches, eye, skin, and throat irritation, and suffocation. Despite repeated reports from residents, LDEQ has failed to take meaningful action. In 2023, a massive tank fire at this facility injured workers and harmed residents. The incident report found that both IMTT's disregard for safety procedures and their inadequate air monitoring directly contributed to the catastrophic event. This is a part of IMTT's long record of violations, fines, and failures, which LDEQ must consider under state law and the public trust. IMTT is now proposing adding 4 new ammonia tanks to St. Charles Clean Fuels, even though that facility has not yet been permitted. The site's history of accidents and proximity to homes and an elementary school make this extremely dangerous. IMTT's poor track record creates an extreme risk of additional harm to the community if there's a chemical release. Exposure to ammonia at high levels can cause respiratory distress, chemical burns, and even deaths, especially among vulnerable population. LDEQ should not permit the construction of this high-risk new infrastructure, especially given IMTT's poor compliance history. Second, the permit application fails to address proper mitigation or monitoring efforts. Previously, LDEQ had a monitor in St. Rose to track IMTT emissions because it found that residents were suffering from serious health issues. The agency said the monitor would provide, and I quote, an in-depth analysis of the air toxins found in the community. Yet, LDEQ later removed this monitor without explanation. The lack of monitoring prevents the community from having reliable data to understand what is in the air and whether IMTT is complying with its permit. Given IMTT's history, continuous air monitoring and transparent data are appropriate measures. For these reasons, we urge LDEQ to deny this air permit application. Thank you.
Jones, Maurice, Beast.
Good evening. My name is Bella Maised. My address is 6329 Ferret Street, and I'm a student attorney with the Environmental Law Clinic at Tulane Law School, representing Ms. Norna Johnson. As part of its decision whether to approve IMTT's permit, LDEQ has a constitutional duty to consider whether such an approval violates the public trust. In so doing, the first question it must consider is whether the real and potential harms resulting from the project have been avoided to the maximum extent possible. They have not for 2 reasons. First, the proposed permit would allow for increased emissions of toxic air pollutants, for which IMTT has failed to provide any updated modeling to show compliance with state air laws. Second, a cumulative risk of carcinogens from IMTT creates an unacceptable level of risk in the community. We urge LDEQ to deny IMTT's application, as it is clear that a renewal and expansion of this permit as proposed is not in public interest. First, this proposed permit does not maximally avoid adverse impacts of the project because it has not demonstrated compliance with the state ambient air standards for several toxic air pollutants. ITT seeks increases for many toxic air pollutants, including ammonia, methanol, and N-hexane, a known neurotoxin, as well as carcinogens such as naphthalene. For IMTT to show these increases won't violate ambient air standards, it needs to conduct air modeling. This allows facilities like IMTT to show how their own emissions will interact with surrounding pollution sources and show that a pollutant's combined emissions won't exceed the permissible concentration for a given area. IMTT has provided no modeling since 2010 despite many changes in the area. It is likely the increases IMTT now seeks, combined with increased pollution from other nearby sources, like the recently expanded Bungie facility, will exceed these standards and have dangerous consequences for residents. For instance, when IMTT last modeled its hexane emissions, its concentration was already within 3.5% of state ambient air standards, and it now seeks an increase over 20 tons per year greater than the emissions it modeled in 2010. Bunge's 2024 modeling has similarly shown hexane levels close to the standard. Additionally, the combined ammonia emissions from IMTT's new tanks and St. Charles Clean Fuels proposed facility raised concerns regarding exceedances of state ammonia limits. Without updated modeling, IMTT cannot accurately account for its potential emissions and ensure compliance with state air standards. Second, even more concerningly, the risk of carcinogens emitted by IMTT lead to unacceptably high level of risk in community. Looking at only 5 carcinogens emitted by the facility, benzene, 1,3-butadiene, ethylbenzene, naphthalene, and PAHs, Dr. Kimbrelle Terrell of the Environmental Integrity Project found a cumulative cancer risk of 1 in 310. EPA's acceptable threshold is 1 in 10,000, and yet ITT seeks to increase these emissions, further exacerbating cancer and other health risks for residents. This application does not minimize environmental harm to the maximum extent possible, and to approve it as drafted will violate the public trust. For the foregoing reasons, we request that LDEQ deny IMTT's permit application. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Clara Potter. My address is 6329 Ferret Street, New Orleans, and I am a supervising attorney with the Environmental Law Clinic at Tulane Law School. I represent Norna Johnson and Refined Community Empowerment Inc. I'd like to urge LDEQ to deny IMTT's Title V permit renewal for 2 reasons in addition to those that my colleagues already stated. First, the existing and increased air emissions proposed in this permit could potentially violate the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. IMTT has never shown in any of its modeling that it complies with the 1-hour standard for nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide, even though it is a major source of both pollutants. And in 2010, the last time it modeled the 3-hour standard for sulfur dioxide, IMTT's own data suggested the facility might be in violations of the 1-hour standards. These short-term 1-hour standards address the health effects associated with peak concentrations of pollutants, which pose the greatest risk to residents living close to a facility. Both nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide can cause serious negative health impacts, including serious respiratory harm. Because this facility is so close to Elkinsville, LDEQ must require IMTT to submit modeling demonstrating compliance with the 1-hour standards. Second, LDEQ would violate its duty as a public trustee if it permits IMTT to expand and build new tanks. Under the public trust, LDEQ must ask, 1, have the adverse environmental impacts been avoided to the maximum extent possible? 2, do the benefits of the project outweigh its costs? And 3, are there alternative locations and with less environmental impact? Permitting new tanks with toxic pollutants at this site, mere feet from residents' homes, resoundingly fails this test and would violate the public trust. The proposed permit would allow IMTT to build at least 14 new tanks and repurpose many more existing tanks. Where will they go? The only site plan in the permit application is buried on page 542 of volume 3 of thousands of pages of materials that was submitted in 2020. The latest version submitted in 2025 has no map. The map that is in the existing materials does not clearly identify where the new tanks will go or what they will hold. It is only because of the incredible map made by Dr. Kimbrelle Terrell of the Environmental Integrity Project that people right next door to this facility have any idea about the risks of the tanks going next to their homes. LDEQ has a duty as a public trustee to evaluate the siting and risks associated with these new tanks. If IMTT was a new facility seeking permission to build today, a lot of these tanks wouldn't be allowed. But because the facility has been around for so long, it's been grandfathered in. Well, the Elkinsville community has been here for a lot longer. In fact, it's been here since after the Civil War. So there are no protections for them that have been grandfathered in. Residents here tonight had told you about horrific conditions. LDEQ could stop to the expansion of the unsafe conditions for St. Rose residents by denying this permit renewal application. Thank you.
Tish Taylor, Port 14, Orange Loop, LaPlace, Louisiana. You're welcome. In 2016, EPA came to our community in Reserve, Louisiana, and told us that we had highest risk of cancer in the United States. It was caused by the emission of one company, DEQ, formerly DuPont. It told us that the emissions of toluene were 50 times national average. Our risk of cancer was 8 times the national. Since then, they forced DEQ to put up air monitors and for those emissions to be reported to LDEQ. By monthly meetings that we had with those readings, we started sharing that with the community. LDEQ came to our community, our parish council meeting, as well as our school board meeting, and said that we, the community members, and the members of Concerned Citizens of St. John were disseminating mistruths. We relied with information taken from EPA and LDEQ's website. LDEQ came to our community and called us liars. LDEQ stood with the petrochemical industry, said that they would not be able to make any money if they lowered their emission to 0.2 micrograms per cubic meter of air, which means they really didn't care about the community nor the elementary school of kindergarten to 4th grade students that was less than 1,200 feet away from that company. My mom passed away December 31st. She suffered for 22 years from diseases caused by the petrochemical industry. LDEQ does not regulate, they do not enforce, they protect the industry, not the people's health. The answer is deny, deny, deny any expansion, deny anything. Deny, help to defend the community and the health of the community. Do not defend the petrochemical industry as you have historically done. Thank you.
Kimbrelle Terrell, 2023 Josephine Street, New Orleans, Louisiana.
with environmental integrity project. I agree with the CEO of IMTT on one point, and that's that there's a lot of misinformation out there because IMTT has put it up there. They want to claim that they're the only community air monitoring program between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. That shows how out of touch they are with communities. Off the top of my head, I can name community air monitoring projects in New Orleans, Jefferson Parish, St. John Parish, St. James Parish, and Ascension Parish, as well as other projects right here in St. Charles Parish. I'm also curious to know if anybody in Elkinsville knows the lady pictured on propaganda right there. I've never seen her before in my life. Mr. Connor also claimed that this is a standard process that comes up every 5 years, yet he neglected to mention that the current permit that they are operating under today was set to expire May 17th, 2021. LDEQ has been sitting on this permit application for 5 years with no explanation. He also claimed that DEQ established air quality standards well above health-based thresholds. Sir, that was in 1992. Health-based thresholds have come a long way. He also has portrayed this facility as primarily storing non-toxic products by doing an analysis based on the number of tanks storing different products. If you look at the picture of the facility, it's pretty obvious why that's a ridiculous approach. These tanks vary in size from storing 20 million gallons of product to less than 500,000 gallons. If we look at it by product volume, which is the way that a scientist would look at it, we see that 80% of their product is toxic, including 62% petrochemicals. This is not a vegetable oil storage facility. Since I have 1 minute left, I'm going to finish by naming every toxic air pollutant that would be a permitted increase if this permit is granted. They're portraying this as a reduction in VOCs, but it's an increase of 100,000 pounds per year of toxic air pollutants. It would increase acrolein, ammonia, benzene, carbon disulfide, carbon tetrachloride, chlorobenzene, chloroform, cumene, dichloromethane, ethylbenzene, formaldehyde, hydrogen sulfide, methanol, methyl bromide, methyl chloride, methyl ethyl ketone, naphthalene, phenol, polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons, tetrachloroethylene, styrene, vinyl chloride, N-hexane, 1,2-dibromoethane, 1,1,2-trichloroethane, 1,1, oh, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Okay, the next person you have a very attractive hand Ryan, but I'm not able to read your name. Rosemary Young.
It's coming.
That's very nice and I must say it does.
Wait, about that.
You get its visions.
Hello. My name is Raquel Young. I reside at 105 Riverwood Drive, St. Rose. I want to say I've been here for 2 decades on a transplant because I ran from New Orleans from Hurricane Katrina. As one of the late said here, one of my biggest investments is my home. My children grew up here, learned here, desperately. We're a community. Imagine being a healthcare provider, traveling abroad, looking at a map on the wall, and you are pegs. We are pegs in this community because it's a cancer cluster. Now imagine you want to add ammonia to this spatial. At least right now, we're PEGs on the map. But once you add ammonia into this picture, it is silent death. We're no longer PEGs. We're no longer evidence. We're no longer proof because we no longer exist. Imagine New Jersey, the plant explosion, I think as recently as 2025. Imagine Illinois. I encourage you people and all the people in the community to look these up, YouTube, and see destruction. Thank you and have a great day.
Have blatant dishes.
Come on, Capo. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Dickerson, and I live at 429 St. Rose Avenue. I have been in St. Rose since 1980. And I want to just say, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. Let me just say this. IMTT wants to build more storage tanks for the blue ammonia storage. And I want to just take this opportunity to piggyback off of something that I think Ryan Price brought out earlier. I attended the public hearing with the residents of Luling across the river who were against the proposed tanks in that particular area. In that meeting, there were representatives from the police department, the fire department, who all spoke out about their concerns from an emergency standpoint. There were public officials in attendance. We don't seem to have that level of involvement on this side of the room. But there should be concerns from a fire and from a police standpoint as to what would happen in the event of the emergency. The representative from the fire department on the issue across the river was adamantly against it. He said that they would not be able to handle an emergency situation. Where are the representatives from our parish? Where are our police and fire departments to express their concerns on this side of the river? I have met with the folk from IMTT, and quite honestly, they seem to me like very good people. But ask yourself the questions. Would you want this blue ammonia plant in your neighborhoods? My biggest concern is for the children and the future of St. Rose. They deserve clean air and a healthy environment. 2 of my grandchildren have walked outside of my home and asked me, "What is this awful smell outside?" I have no response. My granddaughter, who attends Destrehan High School, says that she smells chemicals while waiting to catch the bus in the morning. She had asthma. Let us not have the ostrich syndrome and stick our heads in the sand. This is very concerning, and at this time, I would like to ask that the permit be denied.
Usually, Dory.
Come on, touching it.
Hi, my name is Chudbury Thomas. I stay on 406 4th Street, which is the street right next to IMTT plant. I would like to say that not only have I smelled toxic smells coming from IMTT,
I've had experiences where we've heard loud booms and we've not known at all what was going on over there. When the smells come, we don't know what's going on either. I have a disabled mom and I have a disabled son. And I take care, I see about both of them. Also, I would like to say, adding on more tanks onto the 200, more than 200 that they have is dangerous because there is no evacuation plan put in place also. We're literally all on River Road right with the plant. So I'm just asking that the permit would be denied.
Views with this case,
First of all, good evening. Thank you all for having this discussion. Once again, IMTT, we have been meeting with them frequency, and we've been going through the plant. They've been showing us different things. But one thing we did not have a conversation about is the building more tank for ammonia. That was never brought up. We do not want tanks in St. Rose for blue ammonia. If they was gonna build them across the river, why now they gonna build them over here? Somebody is trying to push these tanks down our throat. That's what's happening. And that's wrong. When you stand out in the morning and look at little young kids catching bus to go to school, and it's just an idea if something happened. And it's something going to happen one day. Airplanes falling frequently. They're falling out of the sky. What happened if one falls and hit a blue ammonia tank? We really need to consider, I'm against the blue ammonia plant. Please do not give them permission.
Good evening, everyone. I've been a Savory resident of Kyereh Bernard, 163 is Lawn Ridge Lane, St. Brick. I've been a resident for 44 years here. We moved to this community because of the beautiful nature, the lands. I was a city girl, and then we moved out here, thought we were moving to a country, safe, beautiful air. And then we decided to build a home here. And now I'm starting to worry because he built this beautiful home we've invested in for all these years, and now we're 50, I'm 52, my husband's 55, and we're starting to experience smelling these chemicals all the time. And our big concern is, how are we going to sell our home? Or are we going to get the value for our homes that it's worth now because of the chemicals? Who is going to want to buy a house that's, when you walk out at night, You could smell the chemicals. They release it when it rains. You smell it late at night. You smell it coming into your home through your air conditioning systems. It's very, very scary. I suffer from migraines. I do not know if it's the chemicals or not. I'm assuming it is because I can smell it constantly. I want to know who's going to insure us, who's going to get us the value of our homes, who's going to protect our children. And they're saying that their numbers are low now, that I can't imagine if they ran it the way this guy's saying, oh, we wanted it low. What if they ran it the way they were supposed to run it? How sick would we be then? We're already so sick. So I'm against this. I hope that your families, would you move your families here? All these chemicals. It's just terrible, and I'm totally against it, and I just sick to my stomach over it.
John Glitch. Jason, I'm sorry.
Namaste. Oh yeah, no, I just gave reason.
Jason Lynch, 172 Audubon Place in Destringham. Thank you to the leaders of IMTT for coming to apply for a permit, listen to our concerns. I hope after denial of this permit, you allocate the needed funds to reestablish the faith of the community by upgrading your equipment. Thank you to everyone behind me for expressing your disapproval of this permit request. I'm a lifelong resident of Destringham. I grew up playing baseball at the field, IMTT field on River Road. I spent my time playing 36 holes a day of golf a day at Ormond Country Club, and have spent my entire life outdoors as a Parish. As a businessman, I can appreciate the jobs that IMTT and other companies offer to our residents. However, in light of the recent Smitty's explosion, I have to change my position from that of support to one of opposition, side with my fellow neighbors. I've sent all of my comments and questions, 42 exact, using the LDEQ website, but wanted to make sure that I share some of my concerns today. Driving over here, I couldn't help but notice the rustic tanks and pipes at IMTT. I couldn't help but notice all the dilapidated tanks and storage facilities. I'm sure your executive C-suite offices look nothing like your rustic pipes and collapsing equipment.
Yeah.
Why you've given millions to the community is noted in your presentation. You can't put a price on our health.
Yeah.
Burning and no biohazard facilities exist in the U.S. None of us here want to be lab rats for this project.
Yep.
If the CEO, the C-suite, and the board of directors do not live in St. Rose, then that alone shows you do not have reasonable care for the residents, much less 100% confidence in the area. If I'm wrong about your address, I apologize. I ask my fellow residents to take note of the lack of parish officials that we elected to demonstrate support of us. Two questions that I felt like were not addressed tonight. What's the minimum liability insurance or financial assurance the company carries for a catastrophic release? Bodily injury, property damage, and cleanup. We know Smitty's is out of business and will not be able to cover those losses, even with insurance. Is there a dedicated contingency fund, bond, or financial instrument for evacuation, relocation to residential damage? I think the volunteer men and women who serve in our fire department here, but again, it's a volunteer fire department. They have to respond from their homes. And if something happens, 10 minutes of response time is not going to take care of it. Thank you for that.
Honey.
Hi, my name is Lisa Blintini. I live at 11244 River Road in St. Rose. I've been a resident since 1998, and I have smelled the smell. I always tell myself, oh, it's just a smell in the air. It won't hurt me. Well, since I've been coming to these meetings, I've been finding out it's been hurting a lot of people. So I started thinking about this, and I've been listening to these men who are claiming how safe it is. So I think if we're going to be sending out permits, we should allow everybody in this room to get a permit. Anybody who has a big enough backyard can put a tank in their own backyard. If we gotta smell these smells and live with this, we should be the ones making money off of this. Everybody should have a tank in their backyard. We should have permits set up over there so you can pick one up on your way out. But if we can't all have a permit, I think nobody should have a permit, baby.
Okay, so it's going to take about a 10-minute break to go to the restroom. All that. By here is the rain. Rules.
I am such a very capta. A pizza.
You don't like?
Your employees is Sunroad.
My son-in-law is going to. That's what this is for.
Yes. Yeah, the people me properly. I read the agency Saturday. Crash report is the first day. Shelter here at non-nations. I'm designing for my post by the Kyereh while waste wires and cylinders. I'm especially well best that come from the pipeline for the night. You'll all get your more. Yeah, thank you.
Get here!
Many of which were for companies that operate the Kimbrelle Parish.
Not a clue. However,
The rest of modern Gulsic, but out there to tell you that we have some of the best technology there is. For modern rich reed, pike, dead dual sass, or briefly is in no system as. It sounds like IMTT covered practice a job in there with ours. I can tell you that the days you do the chief shot is really push care. But my main concern isn't about monitoring this facility. My concern is spill and the potential devastation that can, the most likely is the results. No matter how such a mind and equipment bidding. In my experience, the weeks of lethal chemical generally allow being noticed. They most often have been second minutes, rendering lead action virtually useless. Monitoring very effective mitigating factor for slower and mitigates here the piece of annihilation bike on down point factor because Carol will display damage to the environment in most cases more guys. I don't make clear that I'm not in the IMTT or any of that project. On the contrary, I've been very working with common myself, Valero, and many others about the comfortable news beat. And I still have a lot of friends there. Be assured about no one players that had to dap. Unfortunately, that doesn't stop us then. Despite the best defenses, they stay preventive measures and leave speed stop happens. In conclusion, the problem here is the proximity of residents, their homes, and especially their children, including schools like the one we're in on now, to this facility. I would prefer that was never built this close to my home and it's here. What I do not want to see is what amounts to a tickling time bomb expanded anywhere near my home and the homes of my friends, family, and neighbors. Thank you.
Eric Gervais.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Hi, my name is Erica Zerang. I reside at 438 4th Street, San Luis, Louisiana, in the back of 4th Street. Back in 2014, I can recall this foul smell. It was an odor that was coming into our homes. My home, their home, maybe even your home. We called the EOC, they came out, sent the fire truck. By the time the fire truck got there, guess what happened? They say it's gone. They don't smell anything. We dealt with this for some time and time and time and time. Within St. Rose community, I was one of the founders of the St. Rose Community One Voice, along with Bucky Brigade and General Honorary, to when we fought the state. I'm gonna piggyback on some things about our kids. Our kids have to smell this. I'm a cancer survivor. Not only that, because of it, I have this cough that I developed since 2014. We in 2025, that the doctors don't know why am I still coughing like this. I can tell you why. I'm smelling these chemicals. I'm inhaling these chemicals. I'm right on the fence line of IMTT, right there. You can step on my door, the fence line is there. I oppose, choose this ammonia plant. We don't want it. Don't put it there. Put it somewhere else because we don't want it. We have to live, breathe these chemicals. It is not safe. Ammonia plant, ammonia. You can't even take a bottle of ammonia you buy in the store and put it to your nose. What will happen? You're gonna pass out. So what you think if you put this big old plant here, what's gonna happen to all the residents, our loved ones, our older people? I have an 87-year-old mother at home that has to live and breathe this foolishness. I say no to this plant.
Mr. Peters? I didn't study your first name. I'm sorry.
KEBA. Mr. Keeper. How you doing today? I am a resident of St. Rose, for St. Rose, Louisiana. Today, I just want to state some fact. I don't really have an opinion. It is a fact that after the Civil War in 1873, Bowman Elkins, a free man of color, purchased property that later became known as Elkinsville, Louisiana, establishing what became known as Freetown. It is also a fact that the region you sit in today was called plantation country, and many industrial plants were built on former sugarcane plantations, thus forming what is known as Cancer Alley. It is also a fact that in 1987, the guy by the name of Benjamin Chavis conducted a study titled Toxic Waste or Race in the United States. That study found that race was the most significant factor in determining the location of hazardous waste facilities in the U.S. It is also a fact that in 2000, 1 year before I was born, IMTT pleaded guilty to criminal violations of the Clean Water Act for intentionally submitting false water samples over a 2-year period, resulting in an $800,000 fine. It is also a fact that IMTT's St. Rose terminals are within 250 feet of homes
which is in direct violation of the buffer rule. It is also a fact that the United Nations said in March of 2021 that the so-called Cancer Alley in the southern United States, known for its pollution-emitting chemical plants, should be halted, according to a large group of independent UN human rights experts, and they branded it as a term by the name of environmental racism. It is also a fact that Governor Jeff Landry signed what is called the Kyereh Act on May 23rd, 2024, which restricts how community groups can use and share their own air monitoring data. This law was passed after community groups, many of whom received EPA grants, began using low-cost monitors to report pollution levels. It is also a fact that 2 contractors were injured and taken to a hospital for treatment after a fire broke out at a chemical storage facility in St. Rose on Monday, April 3rd, 2023. It is also a fact that just a few months ago, in July of 2024, the U.S. EPA announced a settlement with IMTT for violations of the Clean Air Act again. The EPA found that the company failed to identify hazards that could result from accidental releases and did not conduct appropriate hazard assessments on the equipment. This directly relates to the prevention of chemical accidents and underscores economic safety failures. It is also a fact that the EPA recently launched what they titled EPA Launches Biggest Deregulatory Action in U.S. History. The last fact that I have for you today is that the St. Rose community is in the 95 to 96 percentile nationally for respiratory risks for air pollution. Adding more chemicals is unjust, and I do not want that here. I do not want Freetown become sacrifice home. Thank you.
Here.
Okay, yeah. Hi, my name is Kyereh Loya, address 305 St. Rose Avenue in St. Rose, Louisiana. I am standing here to oppose this permit because last year at 2024, IMTT reported emitting a total of 194 tons of volatile organic compounds. Maybe this number is permissible, but it is not dignified. It is not dignified that our residents and neighbors are living in fear of emergency. It is not dignified that noxious odors are smelled every day and affecting our health. And adding 26 new tanks would without a doubt increase those emissions. In the Part 70 permit application, IMTT identifies several points of emissions that are necessary in every single day operation of these tanks, including but not limited to tank filling, intertank transfers, degassing, air sparging, cargo folds, things like that that are necessary to even operate these tanks at all. 26 additional tanks would be adding to the pollution you already face every single day, including 4 ammonia tanks, which my peers have already expressed the very evidenced and proven health consequences for ammonia exposure, and numbers I found from researchers at the Bayou Blockade estimated that these 4 tanks would increase ammonia pollutions in St. Rose by 681%. That is why I'm standing here, because clean ammonia, safe ammonia, that is a hypothetical, as my peers have expressed. But the concerns here that you've heard today of spill, emergency, exposure, illnesses, death, environmental destruction, property value, property damage, migraines, hospital visit, and IMTT long history failure to comply, those are not hypotheticals, those are precedents. That is LDEQ's responsibility to look at those precedents and protect us by denying this permit. Thank you.
No.
No.
Hello?
Hey, Kyereh.
Well, I am Kristen from Great Park St. Rose Amite. As you may know, the region we live in Louisiana is known as Cancer Alley. This is something I have been aware from a very young age, and I cannot explain to you the sense of impending doom that I have felt from that very young age is the moment I learned that terms. And I cannot explain to you dispense the feelings of June and death, but also just those two words alone in this area. And I also cannot explain to you how I felt when I went on a vacation to the mountains and I breathed fresh air for the first time in my life. And I asked it, what's that smell? Because I thought, surely somebody had to put something in the air to make it smell that good, when really, it was the lack of stuff in the air. I can't explain to you how that realization felt, how it felt, realizing that fresh, breathable, clean air is something I have been missing out on my entire life. But I can't explain to you that I have known of more of those who have died from cancer than those who have died of old age. And I can explain to you that even my grandfather died far too young when he should have from lung cancer when he didn't even smoke. And I tell you that this expansion is not a promise for a better future. It is a threat to life.
Will the Suber?
My name is that she
Good evening. My name is Wilma Subra. I have Subra Company in New Iberia, Louisiana, and usually I get called last because I'm farthest away. I'd like to submit to the record all of these documents, and then I have a few things to add to those documents. On page 2 of the documents, there's criteria and toxic air emission pollutants from the IMTT facility, and that it consists of ammonia, carbon monoxide, lead components, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter 2.5, and 10 sulfur dioxide, volatile organics, butadiene, epquensine, and propylene. And we are taking Summa canisters whenever the citizens have severe odors in their homes or wherever they are visiting, and we send it to Pace Analytical in St. Rose. And that data is all in here, and it tells you what's in the air that we detect in those canisters by doing volatile organics. And I know this is not the same data that the facility is getting, but this is the facility that releases these toxic emissions and causes health impacts to the community. And all that is dedicated in here. And I just want you to know it's not like what they're trying to say, they're not poisoning the people. This clearly shows that they are poisoning the people. And there are pink and different color tabs on here. And this data fills in. This is the pink tab, Summa canister air sample collected by the community and sent to Pace Analytical, like I just said. Then double pink tab on here is incidents. And these community members really do a great job of concentrating and reporting the incidents. And so you may hear the companies say they don't cause any incidents, but if you look at all the data that these community members have been submitting to the record, there's a large number of very toxic chemicals that cause severe health impacts that they are being exposed to on a regular basis. And then the triple P tabs are offices of the Office of Conservation. And we had a hearing here on part of this process, and I wanted to have that in the record also. So when DEQ reviewed everything, you would have a complete list of the things that the community has been involved in and communicated to the issue and to the companies. And then the yellow tab is Kimberly, and you've been seeing a lot of Kimberly running around the super to make sure everything's good. And she did a public comment to DEQ of January to the application.
The super, your Tom Case here, it's gonna be talking, and it's up. But if you want to come back,
That would be great.
if you like, for your convenience.
Okay, so your mom just turn this forward in.
I'll listen in. We'll park up as Exhibit 5.
And I'll talk to you.
Hello. My name's Harv Adams. I live in 126 Riverwood Drive in St. Rose. I'm not a Louisiana native, and until I got here, well, the Navy sent me here in 1999, and I had never heard of anything called a cancer cluster or a cancer alley. And it just astonished me, and it still does to this day, that for you guys with the Department of Environmental Quality, yes, I'm astonished that you people allow this to go on. How is stupid? For God's sake. One thing I learned in the Navy was the worst answer you can give anybody is that this is how it's always been, and this is how we've always done it. And I hear a lot of that here tonight. This is Cancer Alley. Nobody gets, and I'm my else curse. Nobody cares. This is where we've always built this stuff. This is where we're always gonna build this stuff. Let these people in hands around to be damned. We don't care. I also believe in a concept called shared risk. Sir, I would challenge you to take your ammonia plant to English Turner. You firm things that all do I want here. No, you won't, sir. Not sure you can. Take this on to English Shore and see what happens. I guarantee it will not get built out there.
Let's see, to speak, people that wanted to speak. Additionally, Tyrone Taylor. Mr. Taylor? Okay, well, Tanya Drakenberg. Okay. Okay, Nasuba, you could.
Thank you, sir. Yes, my name is Wama Sugra, Super Company, and you, I dear you, Louisiana, and after I came up with the sector community drugs. The IMTT facility has tanks, 280 storage tanks, 5 ship tankers, 13 barge berths, rail lines, rail cars, and pipelines. And that's what gets brought in and brought out of this community, and it's loaded with different chemicals. They never own the chemicals. They're handling the chemicals for other companies. And so when you hear everybody talk about being exposed and having really bad health effects. It's not the chemical that the facility holds. It's chemical the facility is bringing in and up and releasing it into the air. And as we worked through this over the last couple of years, the agency was willing to ask the company, when we had this odor event, what were you changing from our vehicle into a tank? So we could see actually what chemicals were being released at those signs, and they would know because I added all the health impacts of those chemicals. So suddenly the chemicals that are up close and personal for all these community members. And there are another number of other things added there with the caps on that document. So they'll take care of. And you have all of this, and it's impact the St. Charles Scene Jewel, and it doesn't result in disproportionate high health impacts, is what they say. But just ask the community that's been here tonight, do they have health impacts? And then they report it, I get them a canister. One woman couldn't even stay in her house all night, it was so bad. When I gave her the canister, she put it by the front door, and as she rushed out, she opened the canister, it sucked in the air sample. She closed it, and she left it in the house and ran. And then we sent it to the lab later, and we were able to get the chemicals that she had that breathing that was rushing her out of the house. And when I met with EPA in Region 6 in Dallas, they said no one should ever have to leave their house because of toxic chemical being released there. Thank you.
Should be ready to guilty record. Okay, we'll mark that.
Yes. Mark it with that. We'll just say Gorilla. Okay. Exhibit 5 and low. Thank you. Okay.
Please give your name and please.
My name is Kimbrelle Eugene Track, 333 Second Street, St. Rose, Louisiana. I want to just remind
How do you spell yours? So you don't.
Sure. It's Kyereh, track. Kyereh. It looks like Kyereh, but it's pronounced Trey. Okay, thank you.
What the last name?
My name is Kimbrelle Eugene Trey. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just want to remind LDEQ of its mission. The mission of the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality is to protect human health, safety, and welfare in Louisiana through comprehensive environmental protection. And so we're asking the residents of St. Rose and the residents of St. Charles Parish and Louisiana, we're asking for LDEQ to please live up to your mission to protect the people by keeping out more harmful chemical products out of our homes, out of our communities. Thank you for hearing us say that these chemicals are entering our homes at different times of the night, different times of the day, and also our children are breathing these chemicals. You took our LDEQ, removed our monitor. We want our monitor back, but we want you to monitor the chemicals, the toxins that IMTT has reported that they emit. Also, I want to share the health impacts, adverse health impacts of myself and some residents of mine. I lost the pregnancy, living next to IMTT, also working next to Shell. So between the two of them, I had a cousin of mine to ask me back in '92, Kim, do you think this is the reason why we lost our babies? And today I could say yes, because many of the chemicals that have been released cause birth defects, loss of birth, It caused every system of the body to be negatively affected. I had heart palpitations. When I smell, many times when I would smell these chemicals, I would get the nausea. I would get the nostril burning, the throat burning, and then at different times I would get headaches. So it just so happened that sometimes I would get a headache, and when I was living in other places, I didn't always get the headaches. And then the headache would just last for a little while, maybe an hour, hour and a half, and then it lifts. So I believe that that is also related to these chemicals entering my homes. Thank you. Oh, also I have Refined Community Empowerment is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we collected petitions. So I have here 238 signatures from St. Rose and St. Charles Parish, Louisiana residents that I would like to submit. But before I do that, I'd like to make copies and I will mail it to you.
Okay, yes, ma'am, you can do that, and I gave it I will repeat the times.
Okay, thank you.
Ryant Price, 101 Blue City Drive, Center of Louisiana. I'll be brief. Mr. Gregson, who was old economic development or something like that to St. Rose, St. Charles Parish. We don't want it to be lost on the fact that we are not against economic development in St. Rose. But St. Rose is a residential community. There are no manufacturing facilities in St. Rose. Yesterhand, yes. St. Rose, no. So we want that to be noted by LDEQ. On several occasions on these meetings, I've spoken and I've suggested that there are chemical plants that are already in existence who have lost killers that maybe IMTT should seek to take up residence as a tenant in one of those chemical organizations, such as Cornerstone across the river, where ammonia has been made, ammonia is being made, they have the infrastructure, they have the tanks, they have everything, they even have the permits already. Why do this in St. Rose where we are not a manufacturing community?
Wait a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen Zickerson, 429 St. Rose Avenue. It was remiss on my part, and I just want to make a correction to something I said earlier. I said we didn't have any public officials, and I want to apologize to Miss Michelle O'Dane, who is here, and I just want to correct my statement that we didn't have any public officials present. Thank you for your attendance.
Any comments?
Hello, I'm Rosemary Green. I live at 243 4th Street. In fact, I'm on the where it says a fence line. I did say that I sat on the cabinet, and one of the CAP members, maybe not after tonight, but I've got to say this. I'm very disappointed. I am very disappointed. I feel like I've been deceived. I feel like I've been deceived because in those meetings, not one time were it ever mentioned that they wanted an increase of 26 tanks. Not one time. That's heartbreaking to me. Because they keep saying, trust them. The things that they give to the schools, that is not going to compensate for lives.
That's not gonna save our children. That's not gonna, if you're gonna give anything to the kids, educate them about what's going on here. Tell them the truth. LDEQ, I'm kind of baffled right now that we find out tonight that IMTT has their permit is expired 5 years. Yes, 5 years. I'm pissed. 5 years. I am pissed. How pissed? Excuse me, I'll pump that, but do you understand what I'm saying? Sleep in my bed at night and be awakened with these emissions that come in, with your nose burning, fighting to breathe. You're in a panic because you don't know where to go. You're in your house and it's infiltrated your house, so you go outside and it's just as bad. So where do you go? And then on top of all that, you have the audacity to ask us to accept ammonia plants, ammonia facility, and the tanks. Seriously, I'm human. Look at me. I thought you cut me out, believe, just like you. Where's the heart of, seriously? We're human. We're human, our children are human too. But I'm gonna keep praying for all the deceivers. Because I can't see, whose side are you on? That's what I wanna know. Whose side are you on? I wanna know, whose side are you on? That you would allow this company, I promise you, in my head, if I was needing a permit and by chance it was expired, I would be out of it. So why haven't you pushed the pen? Why haven't you? Something is wrong with that. Somebody's getting paid. That's what it is. Tell it like it is. For luck. Last but not least, you better organize. Get these people out of office that have power. Because power in the hands of a fool is a dangerous thing.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I would like to remind you this comment period for the additional Part 7, the air operating permit renewal and modification for International Matex Tank Terminals, St. Rose Terminal ends at 4:30 p.m. and then 4:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. All comments and requests for notification of the final decision and the transcript in this hearing are processed by the LDEQ Public Participation Group and will be made available on EDMS. Upon the issuance or denial of the proposed permit, notification is mailed to all commentators, speakers, and those who requested to be notified of the final decision. The final decision notification includes information regarding the deal process, the basis of decision, and the response to public comments. Please note that there are 5 exhibits that have been received. And if there are no other comments, I would like to thank you for your attention and participation in this hearing. Let the record reflect that the time is 8:57 p.m. This hearing is closed. Thank you.